I just want to start this conversation on some bullet points of where you're at in your career right now. So you just turned 18, you grew up in Kazakhstan, you started programming at 15, and you started your first EdTech startup at 15 as well. At 16, you cold emailed your way into a research position at Stanford. At 17, you got into this accelerator in London, which you dropped out 3 weeks after, and flew to SF in June. And now you're building a startup called Nia. Maybe we could start, you posted this thread on Twitter where you talked about how you went on walks with your dad by the river in Kazakhstan. Maybe we could start with that story on why you're doing what you're doing,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So back when I was 10, my dad, he often would flew away to another country because he would have a business meeting with his partners. But when he came back for a weekend or something, we would usually go for a walk along a very, very big river in the city where I was born called Almaty. So yeah, we would go there and would just casually talk about business first. I didn't understand a thing, especially when he told me about venture capital. But he started telling me about the core aspects of business, and he would even take me on some meetings with his partners when they were in Kazakhstan or Almaty.
What did your dad do?
Yeah, so my dad, he initially started in construction tech. He's an engineer and also has a very strong background as an entrepreneur. But now he's heavily into AI and research.
And this is the origin story of your interest in entrepreneurship and startups?
I would say it just started with business, so traditional business, right? I didn't even know that startups exist and what does startup essentially mean. So 3 years ago, he actually was building his first startup after a very long career of traditional business in Kazakhstan. He had a co-founder from America and they were doing great. They had a lot of MRR, I think. So he decided to apply to YC because he spent a month in Palo Alto, and before that, he did a 1-year-long program at MIT. He really, really liked it. He sent me a lot of videos that how he casually walking also along some rivers at MIT, also toured Harvard. And after he got rejected, he explained me why, and that if I'm gonna apply in the future, I shouldn't give up and I should just do it because one day he really wanted me to become basically participate in YC because that's the best place to be if you want to build something, right?
So let's start at your early childhood. I know you played competitive volleyball. You were into video games.
Yeah.
Are there any early childhood things that maybe led to you being so ambitious or wanting to?
Yeah, look, my childhood wasn't oh, ambitious, I'm gonna become a founder. It was pretty boring actually. Not that boring, because I was really competitive, I would say. Especially when COVID hit. I was grinding video games. So I played a lot of shooters, like Valorant, CSGO, Fortnite, obviously. I think cumulatively I have over 10,000 hours in all of those games. And they're all competitive. And I think even Elon Musk said that those games actually help you grow in the future. I never cared about that back then. I was just playing and enjoying games with my friends, even though I was raging sometimes. And I think that also shows a competitive spirit that you actually getting angry and want to win every time.
Right. I think there was the quote was that the best software engineers were competitive video game players or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that pattern. A lot of people that follow me on Twitter or just reached out, both investors and founders, they played a lot of League of Legends, a lot of CSGO, and yeah, I think that's a signal.
And then you also mentioned that you were reading a lot about startup culture. You said you read about Fairchild Semiconductor, Frederick Terman, Steve Jobs. Did you have a love of biographies? Did you want to learn
The thing is, back when I was 7 or 6, my mom told me later on that I was ripping books apart, so I hated reading. But one genre specifically stood out, which is autobiographies, right? Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, also just Fairchild Semiconductor, because I had to do a mini research project for my school, basically describing a whole history of Silicon Valley. And oh my God, I got obsessed since then. And I was just reading crazy about all those people and just watching YouTube.
Yeah, when we were talking off camera, we also talked about when you were in Kazakhstan, you always wanted to get into top universities and you were inspired by TikTok people.
Bro, I was obsessed with both TikTok. It blew up like crazy, especially all the creators that help students get into top universities. And I was really, really obsessed with getting into Stanford, Harvard, MIT, and always thought, okay, let me get in, spend 2 years there, and then a genius idea will come and I will create something later. But yeah, never worked out.
Another part of your early story was your mom. I remember from your thread you posted, you talked about how she had photos of San Francisco. Did your mom play a role in kind of raising you to be ambitious?
Yeah, look, my mom is the kindest and probably the best person on earth. So since my childhood, she was really, really supportive. And one thing that stood out is that back then when I was in elementary school, a lot of kids, when they like got bad grades, their parents would like punish them, and yeah, they were like all nerdy, just trying to get the best grade in the class. I was also low-key a perfect student, like in elementary school, but my grades weren't perfect. And then I just like asked my mom, like, what do you think? Like, is it okay? Are you gonna like kill me? She said like that the most important thing of anyone when like someone goes to school to learn is like what's actually in your head and not like what's on the paper. So that like particular thing really stood out.
Did your dad share that sentiment?
Yeah, they both shared it, but like my mom really tried to like remember me that I should be kind and smart in like my head and not on the paper. I would say that also played a huge part. And the San Francisco photos, it actually happened later, this winter actually. She came up from like an event, and one of her friends gave her like a photo book, and she came home. It was like 9 p.m. I remember she walked into my room. She said, "Oh, I got this book. It's about San Francisco. You really want to go there, so you should read it, and maybe one day you'll like end up there, being as a founder." There were probably around 300 pages of just like SF photos, like Steve Jobs' garage and like the Golden Gate Bridge. I vividly remember that photo. So since then, I like was manifesting the universe. I gotta go there. So
it seems like there were a lot of positive influences that encouraged you to be ambitious and like pursue entrepreneurship. Your parents were supportive. There were a lot of inspirational references you had. So maybe we could talk about your EdTech startup that you worked on while in Kazakhstan, I think?
Yeah. So it was my like around freshman year of high school. I really liked EdTech, and I thought that you should have at least like some domain expertise when you're building something. And I really thought, I'm hella dumb, so what should I focus on? And it's probably EdTech, because I'm a student myself, and I know a lot of stuff about EdTech, because like I was doom scrolling TikTok every day and like seeing all those posts about college tips, applications, and I basically decided to pursue that.
Do you feel like you were a good student?
Yeah, I was a perfect student.
Perfect?
Yeah, like
Okay.
4 GPA. On my way to Stanford, basically.
Nice. Did you enjoy like school or like?
Sometimes I really hated it, but like some subjects I really liked them because I studied in international school with American curriculum. We were given a choice what to pick, and I obviously picked computer science, a couple other classes that I don't even remember, probably like AP physics. So I really like those. Oh yeah, back to the startup. So since I'm a student myself, and I'm an international student myself, and I also need to craft my own application, so I decided to build like an AI scholarship database of bunch of grants, scholarships, extracurriculars for like all international students and like low-income families, students, first-gen applicants. Basically help students apply to those programs, also get like AI guidance.
Did you tried to raise money for the EdTech startup, and then it was kind of difficult?
Yeah, so after I built it during summer, my dad actually gave not an advice, but he just suggested, okay, why don't you try like raising money? So I pitched to some VCs. I remember coming to their office. We spent some time together, and I obviously got rejected from everywhere. So like, it's Kazakhstan, right? Their startup culture is not that developed compared to Silicon Valley, where people are like always open, even to like kids. So it's kind of different, especially like post-Soviet country. I wouldn't say it's horrible, but like there's still some mentality, I would say, that still lives in those people. Also applied to a lot of accelerators. Like I'm talking about 2030. I went through LinkedIn, and there was a guy who like posts about those accelerators and programs for founders. So YC, SPC, Fuel Fellowship, got rejected.
Okay.
And yeah, I just decided to move on with my application, I guess.
And then you grew that to 20,000 users, I think.
Yeah, also funny story to that. So like, I knew that marketing is a big thing, and that Reddit is crazy good for that. But even people harsh, they love critiquing founders, especially when it comes to like self-promoting. So eventually, I decided to just like post stuff on TikTok and Reddit and focus on that. Also Discord. I would just like spam my thing everywhere. That's how I grew it and like made my first $1,000. Made me realize that like a kid with the laptop can build something in his room. But yeah, I eventually got banned from everywhere, like every Reddit channel, every Discord channel. People hated me there, but like some of them really enjoyed and used it, especially some people at my school. Like they would just DM me on Instagram, hey, dude, I love what you built, like I'm using it. And that was really nice.
So while you were working on this EdTech startup, I think you were cold emailing professors or something. You were sending hundreds of cold emails.
Yeah, I actually wrote a LinkedIn post about it, how I got my Stanford research position. So basically, still played a lot of video games, but realized that, okay, since I'm applying to Ivy League, which is very hard, I need to get something outstanding and also get more experience in the field I want to pursue in. So during my summer, I would spend like 2 to 3 hours every day just like sending cold emails. So whether it's like Harvard, MIT, Georgia Tech, Stanford, to like CS and math departments.
What grade were you in at this time? High school?
I think I was in 10th grade.
10th grade.
I kept sending those emails, got a lot of rejections, and the obvious one was like, we don't give internships to high school students. Yeah, go search for something else and just like go build your side projects, whatever. One guy who actually replied, he was the founder of Venture Capital Initiative at Stanford, and he is very popular on LinkedIn. His name is Ilya Strubelaev, and he posts those like weekly research on startups, founders, VCs. He initially gave me a test. So he told me like, if you pass it, yeah, like come on board. So it was like a Python thingy. I had to scrape like some VC firms. I think it was Menlo Ventures. So I did that in like a couple hours. They really liked it, I think. So I got into like the research team, and the main focus was probably like manual data collecting and processing with like some Python scripts in Jupyter Notebook. So what I would do daily is I would scrape a lot of, I'm talking about like thousands of VC firms over the past 2 decades, and make like a trends and basically a database of those VCs. So their investment decisions, their team size, their team members, and all of that. So it can like grow into actual research in a year. And I actually asked the professor, like, will it get ever published? And he said, yeah, Financial Times. And I was like, what the yeah, like that's crazy. And I was really excited, yeah.
So while you were doing this, you were also applying to accelerators. Were there any like ideas you were working on at that time? You were still in Kazakhstan remote.
I was still in Kazakhstan, and I was applying everywhere with Extracurrify, so the EdTech startup I built. And like as I mentioned before, I got rejected brutally from everywhere I applied to. So like, yeah, not even an interview.
And I think you were 15 at this time, 16?
Yeah, either 15 or 16, yeah, something like that.
And then you were applying to accelerators, and then you got into one called Entrepreneurs First, and then you decided to drop out of high school. Maybe we could talk about joining that, moving to London, dropping out of high school.
Yeah, let me start from the beginning, which was around like, basically this December. That was my like second phase of applying to a lot of accelerators. So this time I applied to Z Fellows, Phil Fellowship, all of them. Mostly got rejected, but it was a good round since like I eventually got into Entrepreneurs First, which is like the best in the whole Europe, arguably. I was already working on my first prototype of Nia, which I pivoted away after, but it was essentially an AI agent that understands any codebase in natural language. I had around 35 customers for this product. I had some revenue traction. Funny story that a lot of exams were coming up for my high school, so AP exams that are really, really important if I want to get into Stanford. And the thing is that I would just like code every hour, like every available hour at my high school. So I would wake up at 5 a.m., finish all my homework, and basically code throughout everything. Like I would skip classes. No, I would still attend those classes, but I would skip the material and just like code and code and code. And like I took some investor calls, I took some customer calls. I even got sent to principal's office once for like basically coding and taking customer calls. And yeah, so I did that, decided to apply because like, no way I'm gonna pass those exams. Like I really need to do like something, either get into accelerator or basically grind in like 2 weeks before the exams start. So I applied to Entrepreneurs First. I did 3 rounds of interview and I finally got in. It was March 13th. It was a lunchtime and I was sitting in my high school's library. I was adding a new feature. It was a really good feature.
At this time, it was Nia you were working on?
Yeah, it was Nia. Still the same name,
Still the same
but like
name.
the different product, I would say.
I see.
Yeah.
So you joined Entrepreneurs First, and then you raised a pre-seed of $1 million,
Yeah.
I believe, and then you decided to leave 3 weeks in. What happened around then?
Okay, yeah, let me start from my initial acceptance. So March 13th, I got accepted, was really, really happy. Came home, told my parents, okay, Dad, Mom, look, this is one of the best programs in the whole Europe. And this is my chance to actually go and become an actual founder, not just like building side projects and getting rejected by everyone. So please let me go. And my mom started crying. My dad was really, really happy. So they let me go. And yeah, that's how I basically dropped out and came to London and made like a LinkedIn post that went really, really viral. That's like where I got most of the inbound from. So it was basically my story of like, I quit high school 2 weeks ago. I'm now joining Entrepreneurs First. Here we go. So got a lot of inbound from that. I came to London already, like a lot of people wanted to meet along with investor inbound.
Did you feel nervous at that time? Were you just so consumed?
Bro, I was so fucking excited. Like that was, yeah.
Excited. It's like,
yeah, it's, yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting because typically a founder would just be nervous, but you're like
Like
constantly.
one moment when I was actually sad is in the like I told my parents, okay, yeah, you shouldn't go to airport with me. Just like please stay at home. I know you're gonna cry. They
Did you
actually,
guys hug at home?
yeah. Was it? My mom cried anyways, but like yeah, it was fine. She's great. She's doing great now. But I actually called my best friend to come with me to the airport. We drove together. We met up, had some coffee, I think, and just like before leaving, he's usually a very, very funny guy, and we have like a very funny relationships. But like he looked at me and he said something, like he was just basically saying something for a minute that like, Arlan, I believe in you, like you're a brilliant guy and you got this. And this almost made me cry. So that was like one of the moments. And after that, yeah, just like flew to London and settled in because I already had like some friends from London. So yeah, it was nice.
It's interesting when you contextualize, when people hear dropping out of high school, that's like extreme, but it seems like already, one, you had like a strong social support network, like your parents supportive, but also you're already like really working at your startup, like to the point where you weren't even like doing.
Yeah, like I actually believed in it. So I had traction, like customers and actual interest from people, even the Discord community where like people would report bugs every day. I remember during my like literature classes or math classes back in high school, I would like respond to every message, fix bugs on the go. Teachers thought I'm weird, and my math teacher literally told me, bro, what are you doing? Just like focus on your grades and pass the exam. I looked at him. I wanted to say couple words, but I decided to. My bad, dog.
Okay, so you moved to London, do the Entrepreneurs First program. You end up leaving. You raise a pre-seed. Maybe we could start from there.
So yeah, I got a lot of inbound from LinkedIn. Started taking a lot of investor calls during the actual program. So it kind of overlapped because Entrepreneurs First, you gotta get a co-founder. And I was a solo back then. And I couldn't find a co-founder. Because, I don't know, people just didn't want to work with me, I guess. Or I was just like too introverted. Because I would often just like disappear from the office to take investor calls. Every day, like 5 to 10 investor calls. Raised my pre-seed in like 5 days, I think. Yeah, 5 days. It was around $1 million. And one of the people like really helped me. He was one of my first angels. His name is Nurdolet. He's also from Kazakhstan, but he ran like a startup hub in London that like really helped me out. It was 2 a.m. in the like 2 a.m. I was eating my 5th protein bar because like I was really stressed out because of like all the term sheets and all the terms. So we basically sat together, went through everything and decided like on the specific terms. And that's when I closed my pre-seed with the best VC firm in the like whole Europe. They have around 20 unicorns produced. YC, Robinhood, Figma. So really good guys. Local Globe. That's when I also like dropped out from Entrepreneurs First due to the fact that I raised my pre-seed and also couldn't find a co-founder.
And then I think this was around the time you were considering coming to San Francisco.
Oh, I knew that since the beginning. I knew that like I'm not gonna stay in London for too long because SF is the place to be for developer tools. That's where all AI companies are, and that's like the best place to sell to actual people and get the network going. Like London is still great, but in my opinion, I think it's distracting. Like there are a lot of stuff to do. One night I decided to go to Chinatown, and yeah, I came back like 12 hours later. There's like a lot of stuff to do, so it really distracting.
And then was this around the time you got into YC when you decided to?
That was my 3rd application. I decided, yeah, fuck it, let's apply again. Like I gotta get in this time because one of my first angels, Nurdolet, he introduced me to other founders who went through YC and who are from Kazakhstan. So they did a lot of mock interviews with me. So I sent my application to YC. A couple weeks went by. I was hella nervous. Like I really wanted to get in because I was also inspired by my dad when he didn't get in. So I put like a goal for myself, like I have to do it. And so yeah, around like late May, I got a decision for not like an acceptance, but for an interview in a couple days. So I was all around the place. And on the day of an actual interview, it was around 11 p.m. So Harsh and Ankit were interviewing me, and Harsh is like the GOAT of YC. He's in YC for like 10 years already. So I was really nervous, right? I did my interview. Surprisingly, they didn't have a lot of questions. Like Harsh was just like smiling. After the interview ended, my heart was like, I thought I'm gonna die. Like, cause my heart was racing like crazy.
If you didn't get in, it was kind of a do or die thing?
I would go to SF anyways. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It wouldn't stop me. But like getting into YC would give me a huge boost in like network and customer specifically. So yeah, and a couple hours later, I got an email from Ankit, which is now a partner at YC. Hey, Arlan, thanks for the call. Are you available for another chat tomorrow? And I thought like, oh my God, another interview. I'm not gonna survive that. And a couple minutes later, he sends another email. Actually, let me call you right now. Give me your number. And that's the moment I knew, okay, I got in. Because like usually YC, when founders actually get in, they call you on WhatsApp, on your phone basically. So I got a call and, hey Arlan, we would love to fund Nazomio. And I literally like started screaming in the phone to Ankit. And he was also like laughing. And the first thing I did is told my angel investor who like did those intros. Because he didn't sleep. He was waiting for me to like get a response, and we were both like very, very nervous.
And then you moved to SF. What was it like? I remember I was reading some of your tweets. You were sleeping on the floor, and then you got an air mattress, you upgraded. What was it like when you moved?
Okay, I thought I'm gonna be fine. Like, I literally decided, I went to IKEA, I wanted to buy a mattress, but they didn't do delivery, because it was like hella huge. It was like 5 meters, or something like that. It was really, really heavy. So I went home, I thought, okay, let me sleep on the floor for a couple days. Like, nothing can happen, right? I made a pillow out of my hoodie, and I had like this blanket that I brought from my home that my mom gave me. And I remember I woke up at 4 a.m. I was freezing, like, I was actually, I thought I'm gonna die, and my heart is gonna like stop. Because it was so cold. It was like 13 degrees Celsius in SF. And like before going to SF, my mom told me there are a lot of dangerous people in SF because of like yeah, you know America, like it can be crazy during nighttime. So I called like some random hotel and just basically started begging them, please, like give me a room, I'm dying, I'm freezing. So I spent like a night in the hotel. Next day I came back and actually got a proper air mattress and posted it on Twitter that like no proper bed until Series A or something. So that's like where also like my sort of engagement on Twitter started. Before that, I tried posting on Twitter, but like none of the posts would go viral.
Yeah, at least with Twitter posts, it's interesting. I think the main thing about gaining momentum, I'm not big on Twitter, but it's about like signal. And I think you started posting like, I'm moving to SF.
Yeah, let me tell you about the story actually. So I started back in London. I was shit posting every day. Nothing worked out. I was averaging 50 views. But one day I decided to post like a Ghibli photo of me, anime character, going to SF. And the headline was, how I dropped out from high school and got into YC as a solo founder, immigrant from Kazakhstan. I really wanted to like share people that I'm going to SF, like to make new friends. So I posted, I got 500,000 views, primarily because Paul Graham, he reposted it a couple hours later, along with Gary Tan, who actually like wrote a post above my post. Yeah, it like went really viral. A lot of people followed me, and that's like since when I started posting more actively and tried to like crack the X algorithm, which I'm still trying to do because it's like really, really hard. LinkedIn is way easier, I would say. So yeah.
I think it's way easier to like break through and get engagement because people don't really take creative risk being entertaining or just
yeah.
Versus like Twitter. Okay, so we talked about moving to SF and your like early beginnings. Maybe we could talk about Nia itself.
Let's do it.
The company. You know, what is Nia? What are the frustrations that led you to building it?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with the backstory. Back in January, when I was working on an agent that understands any code base, before pivoting, I really faced this issue of first, context. All of the context windows like of LLMs are really, really small. And there's an increasing problem, even like with the recent study made by Chroma. And they basically said that as context window is gonna increase, the performance of any LLM, doesn't matter like the size of their context window, is gonna decrease. And that's like really resonated. And one of the another issues was, besides context, is to actually go to the web, searching through other GitHub links, their repos, feeding the docs back to Cursor, and like basically searching through documentation for like hours and hours. And people might ask, but can't Cursor do that? My answer is that Cursor still uses foundational models, which are trained or left behind because like their training data basically stops at like 2024 or early 2025. And even though like GPT-5 came out today, sure, it has updated documentation and like training data, but still they cannot do that every day. They have a like certain cutoff date. And docs, for example, like a Forest Tribe or another like startups that are like growing like crazy, they get updated daily. And that's like a very, very increasing pain point among developers. So that's why I decided to pivot into that idea. And that's why I'm building Nia right now, which is essentially an MCP server. You can think of it as a tool for Cursor or like pretty much any coding agent that gives that context, a fresh and up-to-date context to Cursor and all coding agents so developers can ship more reliable code, basically. With like
How do they handle context today in ChatGPT? How are they aware of events that happened last week or something? Because I've noticed when I use ChatGPT, they are aware of it. So how do they handle that?
It is using like foundational models. And for example, if I'm asking for a Stripe documentation, if I want to implement billing, sure, it's going to search the web, but it's not going to capture all the essential and relevant information that I actually need to implement to set up billing, essentially. So that's why I built this tool that can also capture any GitHub link, index the whole code base, as well as their documentation or like any open source framework, SDK, and feed that context reliably to Cursor and like all agents without essentially filling up the context window, because it's done through MCP and has like an actual multi-agent orchestration layer that doesn't just like spit out all the tokens at once and fills up your context window. So yeah.
Right. Does Nia, do you have to like give it the sources to look at, or does it find the relevant sources itself and then it's just ready to be like tool called?
Yeah, one of the like workflows that is done right now, which I'm gonna automate in the future. So developer would go to a Google, let's say, and let's say he wants to index all of the Stripe docs. He just needs to take one link, stripe.com, paste it in Cursor and say, index it. It's gonna index and crawl and store all of the sub pages along with llms.txt file, which is basically a file that gives a lot of information for LLM specifically.
So it's sort of like a crawler almost?
More of like an advanced crawler. Yeah. We can cut that. Yeah, a very smart one, because like it will also remember and store that information forever, and it will also continuously update it. Some of the existing solutions, for example, DeepWiki. It is a project by a very large company called Cognition, which recently acquired Windsurf. And they basically index 150,000 GitHub repos, but they're not getting updated daily. And it's also for code bases, when like the actual context come from both code bases, documentation, and all other sources. Like for example, one of the tools that Nia provides is indexing of your local folders. So like you can actually go and index anything on your local MacBook or Windows, whatever. Because like developers don't have everything on their GitHub or on the web. So it's like sort of a universal solution for everything to give the most reliable context.
So you can kick off the indexing from Cursor. You can just like say index this thing and then it'll like do like a depth first thing and like find.
Yeah, that's why MCPs are really, really cool. Like you can call them literally from anywhere.
A question I have is why can't like Cursor or Anthropic just like go and implement a solution like this? Because it's in their best interest, for their users to have a solution that can always give their agent up-to-date context. Why can't they just like go implement this?
Yeah, so two things. First, as I mentioned, they rely on foundational labs and models like Claude Sonnet for or Opus or GPT-5, whatever. So they rely on those. They have web features, but they're really good for retrieving like a very quick context, but it can't give you relevant snippets or like the whole context of a specific docs for a specific question. So that's like the first. And the second one is that their primary verticals is to understanding your actual code base, like your local code base. Whenever you work in Cursor, you're editing files, asking questions, it all comes back to your own local code base. And yes, essentially purpose is to actually provide like another side of the medal of external context on top of your like local context.
We talked about, you had a call with PG on the topic of why wouldn't some other big lab just build this?
Yeah.
And why hasn't someone already built this?
Yeah, so PG actually came recently to speak at YC HQ in Mountain View, and one of the things he said is what really made like a lot of founders laugh, but that's really insightful. What he said is that a lot of investors ask founders, what if Google builds this? What if OpenAI does this? But like the answer is, can we just like make a timeline? And whenever investor asks someone this question, and we like look back 5 years later or like 5 years to the past, no one actually built the shit. Like Google doesn't care. And if you go to the Tim Cook's table and like actually give him this idea, like he won't give a shit. This guy has a lot of on his side to do. So yeah, that's like one of the really, really cliche questions that get asked really, really like frequently, but that doesn't mean a lot, I would say, in the long term.
And so you wrote that you were able to improve Cursor's accuracy by 30% with your agent.
Yeah, it was done on the internal evals that I did after the first prototype 4 weeks ago. It's definitely way better now. So what I did is I took an open source framework called Skyvern and their documentation, so their GitHub repo, their docs, and compared the accuracy by getting a lot of synthetic data. So like just Cursor plus Claude for Sonnet, and Cursor plus Claude for Sonnet plus Nia. So that's how I improved it, yeah.
Well, let's talk about skilled immigration. So you come from Kazakhstan, you came to San Francisco. The one thing that really made me interested in your story was what makes Silicon Valley great is that someone from across the world can just move here. They have ambition to do something.
Yeah.
And when that stops happening, bad things will happen. And
yeah.
It's like, it's still happening, so that's good.
Yeah, one point on that. To all international founders, I want to say that we all live on the same planet. Come on, just come to SF, see it for yourself for a couple days, it's not that hard to get the tourist visa, I think, for most countries. But like even then, you can go to Twitter, you can connect with a lot of tech founders. Just like getting this vibe and atmosphere, it's really, really inspiring. And once you actually move to SF, even if you don't have any background, you can get introduced to any people. And I think that's the difference that makes SF the greatest city on earth. That like you literally can get introduced to CEOs, founders of multi-billion-dollar companies in a single night, or like your one single tweet can go viral and you can become the most popular pop person on Twitter for like that week. You just have to show up, you'll get friends, and you will achieve whatever you want. Just like take risks, move to SF if possible, and start being more active on social media, I guess.
One question I have is, what is the bigger why behind your ambition? Like we talked about your background. I'm curious where like this big drive and ambition comes from. I mean, maybe you're not even, maybe you can't pin it down. I don't know if it's just like in your nature. You have a very strong energy to you that just, where do you think that comes from?
I just love unknowns. Probably one of my biggest inspirations is Elon Musk. Like if you ask me any question, I'm gonna give you an answer like ChatGPT in literally like milliseconds. Just the fact that universe is so large and that he works on that like things like SpaceX, the Boring Company, OpenAI previously. But yeah, we're not gonna go into that. He's really trying to help humanity despite all of his like political views. I don't care about that. All I care is like what he's actually doing and how's he trying to like help people. And he's done an amazing job so far. He really inspires me. Talking about like the bigger vision, because I'm not just like stopping on the current state of the product. As AI will progress even further, the eventual state of AI coding specifically, that people are not going to be using IDEs like Cursor, Windsurf, and even English is not going to be the hottest programming language. I think it's going to come from our thought, from ourselves. We'll be either like wearing a glasses or like have some portable device, and we'll be just able to create software on the go. So I think that's like the eventual state of where the humanity is going. And to actually achieve that end state, context is probably like the biggest bottleneck that is right now.
That was my like full
We can talk about how my stuff got stolen.
Was this in London? Your stuff got stolen, or?
Yeah, funny story. So on the day I got into YC, I decided to celebrate, and my favorite cuisine is Korean, so I went to a Korean barbecue. That was like one of the best days of my life. Like, I'm finally in YC, let's go. But the thing is that I was happy. I was walking around the street with my backpack that had all of my stuff in it. Visa, cash, passport, MacBook, absolutely everything. And like one guy just went by and grabbed my backpack and just like ran away. I thought to myself, oh my god, it's over. I was just like staring in the abyss for 3 hours. But thanks to my parents, like my dad and mom, they're really fast in like coordinating things. They told me, go to the embassy at this time tomorrow, fly back to Kazakhstan.
And you had your phone on you?
Yeah, phone is the only thing.
Okay, yeah. If the phone, man.
Yeah, the thing. So yeah, they told me like go to the embassy, get everything sorted out. I flew back to Kazakhstan. I got my visa, and the first thing I did after like my stuff were stolen is I went to Apple and bought a MacBook, because before that one of the users reported a bug that they really wanted to fix that was also annoying me. So yeah, I fixed the bug like on the streets. So yeah.
So we talked, I mean, I think we hit on like a lot of stuff. Is there anything else you'd want to hit on? Like,
you went through all of my Twitter, right? Do you have any like, do you just like curious about anything yourself?
Oh,
like,
curious about anything myself?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Well, this is not even related to your Twitter. I'm curious. You're like very positive. You're like relentlessly positive, and I think that's like a trait that like does really well in Silicon Valley, because the whole idea of doing a startup is literally like positivity in the face of constant negativity. I think it's a state a lot of people want to be in, but they just naturally aren't in. Like they always find a way to shoot themselves down or find a way for something to not work. And it seems like you literally don't do that. It seems like you're literally wired.
Look, one of
to
the
always
things
find a way.
that, great question. One of the things that Windsurf CEO told me during his talk is that you have to expect the worst, like from each outcome, and just like go from there. But also, I'm genuinely excited about the future. I know I'm gonna get punched in the face thousands of times. That's what it takes to actually become, to build something meaningful. I already know that this lab might build what I'm building, and just like living with the fear and like the outcome that might arise later, that just like removes all the friction and doesn't make me sad and like depressed every day. I'm just like genuinely excited about what's next. Like, what's next? I want to build more. Like, please, let's fucking do it. Yeah.
Right. I don't think I have any other concrete stuff.
Maybe something about YC you want to ask?
So you got into YC. How's it going currently?
My dream came finally true. I'm so grateful for that, and like for all the people. Batch is going in, like it's really intense. That's like probably one of the days that I actually can go out and like spend time with other people. But like otherwise, I just code in my room and talk to customers. And that's also what like really saved me. Just like talking to users. It's so refreshing when like you talk to your user or like a potential customer and you see them use your product and like you're genuinely trying to help. I will literally wake up at 4 a.m. for my users and help them and like jump on the call with them. That's like what I literally did yesterday. I took like 3 customer calls within like 2 hours. One was on the random street, another one was like at the taxi, and the third one was at the PG talk, so like during the event. And yeah, the batches are incredible, a lot of great speakers. And finally, the people I got to meet with. Before coming to YC, I was watching their podcast every single day. You probably won't believe me, but I read every single essay of PG, like, okay, not everything, but
I actually
like,
did that. I literally took a month and I read every Paul.
yeah, they're incredible. And every single episode of Dalton and Michael podcast, along with LightCon podcast. And yeah, just meeting Gary Tan, this guy has been my inspiration for so many years. Like his journey is genuinely incredible. I'm so grateful to have those people in my life that like actually willing to help, intro to other founders, and yeah, it's just really cool.
Do you have any final words for other founders?
Yeah, my final words, I'm still in the very beginning of my journey, I would say. It's been only 4 months since I actually dropped out and like the whole thing happened. Before that, I was just like grinding through my math classes and hoping I will get into Stanford. Just be active, I guess. Be interested, like actually interested. If you're not interested in building vertical B2B AI SaaS agent for insurance brokers, don't do it. Build what actually excites you. Just like stay curious, stay intellectually curious. If you hate reading books like me, watch podcasts, watch shows. Like there are a lot of stuff happening on the internet, and yeah, just like be intellectually curious. That's what I would say to everyone, I guess. Yeah.
Great. I think that's a great place to wrap. Thank you for doing this.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Yeah.